Hello, Dr. Kenneth.
Hello.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
we can start now. I think we've got quite a number of lecturers already.
Okay.
Can I, bro?
Yeah, can I
Okay, okay.
start straight away?
Yes, just make some introduction first for
Okay,
you.
okay, sure.
Yeah.
Please proceed,
Okay. Okay.
Dr. Firdaus.
Okay. Assalamualaikum. Very good morning, dear professors and colleagues. I'm Firdaus, the e-learning coordinator for Fpsk. And actually today on the agenda, actually we have our own roadshow from our Pusat e-Pembelajaran, our e-learning center. And it will be led by our esteemed Associate Professor Kenneth Francis Rodriguez, our Deputy Director for our Center of E-Learning, as well as some staff, supporting staff from E-Learning Center, Mr. Zufadli. And just some introduction. Today, actually, we'll talk a bit about Smart V3, MOOC, OER, and also some of other things that are related to this e-learning in our faculty as well as our university. And uh, just want to make sure that everyone knows that actually Smart V3 is actually one of our KPI for our faculties, especially for those in the undergrads, also year 1 until year 3 of MD program, diploma in nursing, and also master in public health. And otherwise, Smart V3 also we have to fulfill blended learning KPI, which is one synopsis, 7 lecture notes, 3 activities, and 2 assessments. And this must be fulfilled by all the modules and all the programs in the faculty to make sure that we get I think it will be 5 points in our LMPT, which seems small for now. But then at the end of the day, at the end of the year, when you're filling up your LMPT, 5 points might make a difference between a mark of 78 and also 82 and 83. So, so today actually we are very, very lucky to have these two of our esteemed speakers and also staff from Center of E-Learning. And I believe they will share a lot of informative and also updates on whatever is going on with the Pusat e-Pembelajaran today. So without further ado, I would like to invite Associate Prof. Kenneth, Dr. Kenneth Francis Rodriguez. The floor is yours, Dr.
Terima kasih, Dr. Firdaus. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, Prof.
Can you hear? Okay, thank you very much. So terima kasih, selamat pagi, salam sejahtera, and Ramadan Mubarak. I wish you all a very blessed Ramadan, the month of Ramadan, the holy month of Ramadan, and welcome you to this session from the Center for E-Learning. Okay, so in today's session, I will be discussing some element of the e-learning, which we will be covering. So with me here is Mr. Zulfadli. He is in charge of the technical aspects, and he will be presenting one slide or a couple of slides on related specifically to Fpsk. Okay, there are certain things which we need to cover for Fpsk, which are specifically related to the year 3 and year 5. So this will be covered by Mr. Zulfadli. Okay, so let me give you an overview of what is going to be covered today. Okay, so first things first, I'm deliberately showing you on the PDF because sometimes the PowerPoint may hang when we are using this format. So I just use PDFs. I have shared everything with you. So the first thing which we are covering today is the learning management system itself. So in that we will cover up the general aspect of the learning management system. And then Mr. Zulfadli will focus on the specific part which is unique to your faculty. The second one is the criteria for the audit. So we will show you how the audit is being done currently and what is the anticipated audit for future. So currently for audit, we are using 1, 7, 3, and 2. But in the future, it will change to 40, 40, and 20. So we will prepare you for that and what is expected of you in the future. So there's most of our colleagues at the other IPTAs, they have shifted to the different audit criteria. The third one is OER, Open Educational Resources, and the last one is the MOCs. So we'll cover all this element in today's training. Okay, so if you want more information specifically related to MOOC, we have a separate training for only for those lecturers who want to conduct MOOC, because MOOC requires a completely different track for training. Okay, so what I'm going to do with you now is I will share a link with you. Okay, so this is the link. So as you come in to the training, the link actually will be only visible to those who are in the live chat now. So this link is actually to register for the course for today. So that will give you the template. I will share the course template with you, and the link will enable you to log into that respective LMS at the UMS Smart V3. Okay, so now I will cover some functionality today, because we cannot cover everything in the whole session. What I'm going to do is, for the new lecturers and for those of you who need a refresher, during the term break, I will be conducting a special training for the whole day, because I need the whole day in order to train you in all the aspects of the blended learning. Okay, it takes around 4 or 5 sessions of 2 hours each. And the next thing I will go into for today's training is I will teach you how to restore the old course, because restoration is one of the things which saves a lot of time. How to register your students using 2 different modes, how to assign students into groups, how to generate the other course content, and also how to create what is known as a grade book. Okay, that's something which we found will save you a lot of time. These are some of the elements I will cover. So these are the basic elements in Smart V3. And analysis of student learning behavior. Okay, I will cover the analysis. So from the system itself, Smart V3, those of you who are using it may be aware of it, but many of us don't use. This is the analysis of student learning behavior. So the system tracks the student usage of the different learning material, and it gives you an output. So this gives you a graphical output of the analysis. Then I will briefly touch upon MOOCs. Okay, so some of the faculties like the PPST and the Faculty of Food Science and Nutrition, they have actually provided us with the MOOCs. So they meet their KPI for MOOC. Now this MOOC for KPI is unique to each faculty and institute. So it's specifically for your faculty. So previously it has been shared with each faculty during the KRA meetings. So you will be aware of how many MOOCs are required for your faculty. And the OER is another element which is also part of our KPI as well as our university outreach. Okay, so this is part of the outreach of the university where we give open resources online. Okay, now for the MOOC itself, I have prepared a brief template for you. So those of you who are interested in developing the MOOC, I would encourage you to develop the MOOC. One is part of the KPI, but usually the MOOC is the course which will give you a lot of visibility for your respective area of expertise. So when you want to develop a MOOC, what we do is we give you a form which is a course template form. Now this course template form is similar to a course synopsis. Okay, it will be a form which requires you to state the week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and the associated learning material as well as the assessment material. Now for MOOCs, what we have done is we automate everything. So when you have a MOOC, you don't have to conduct any class or any lecture. Everything is recorded video and assessment, and it's all automated. So we host our MOOC on Smart V3. I will give you an example of the MOOC later on when during the course of today's training. Now in the MOOC, once you have a course template, we have to appoint reviewers, because this is one of the requirements for the quality of the MOOCs. So we cannot simply upload any content on the platform without reviewers. So these reviewers are generally experts in your field from your own respective faculty or from other faculties who can help you to review that MOOC and identify any shortcomings. So once you have the review process is complete, they give recommendations just like a normal peer review, and then we upload your content onto the learning management system. So this is the process of review. Now, how long does it take? Usually the review process takes anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks. So once you prepare your template, you submit for review, and then you can launch your MOOC. So we are currently using the UMS Smart V3 Learning Management System for the MOOCs. So let's go straight into the first part of the training, which is the system itself. I will share the screen with you. Okay, so this is a course which I have created for you. And okay, the link is here. I will share the link with you. Okay, so someone, Dr. Sophia cannot access the link. Okay, okay, the link is actually here. So hopefully you can access it, Dr. Sophia. The link is here. I've shared the link with you. Okay. Okay, you can access it. Now, this is actually the link which takes you to this particular training module. Now, for the training module, for the purpose of today's training module, I have assigned you all as students, because if I assign you all as lecturers, the activities may not be able to function. Some of the functionality may be an issue. So I have assigned everyone as student. After the training is over, I'll assign you all back as teachers. So you can access the content and you can modify it as required. Now, the first thing which we do when we are in any training session, when we commence the semester, usually our roadshow is delayed because of we have many roadshows going concurrently in different faculties. So we are somewhere around, I think now in week four. Yeah, so this is something which should be done at the beginning of the semester. So what we do at the beginning of the semester is we go into the users and we look at something known as enrollment methods. Let me take you back to this. So this is your course. So at the bottom of your course, you will see your administration block. And in the administration block, based on how your screen has been set up, you will see this at the bottom or either at the side. In this one, you can see the users. Now, the first thing which we need to do in any course is to set up the enrollment method. Okay, so I set up the enrollment method here. Now, in this enrollment method, you need to set up self-enrollment or manual enrollment. So the first you set up self-enrollment for the students. Okay, now this enrollment has to be given a name. So usually the enrollment name, it's doesn't matter. The system will not reject any name. Even if you have lowercase, uppercase, and all the other alphanumeric, it's okay. So you just usually have the enroll and you put course code. So the students don't get confused. So the enrollment is enroll and you put your course code here. Now allow existing enrollments, yes, and allow new enrollments. So suppose I set it no, all of you who are from previously enrolled will be excluded from the course. Okay, and then usually here you need to give them a key. Now I'm going to give a key. So that means everybody who enrolls after this will have to use the key. Okay, so this is your key. So I've just given a simple key, A, B, C, D, caps, 1, 2, 3, 4. That means every student who registers from now onwards has to use this key. Now, why have we done this? Because based on the best practice and sharing from other faculties and institutes, they have told us that many of the students from, for example, your teaching second year course, and a student from first year will enroll for the second year course. They will extract all the assessment from that course and they will unenroll. So in order to prevent this, we have created a system whereby you assign the students and you give them a password. So only those students who are registered for that particular year and that particular semester, that cohort can register in your course. Otherwise, you will have problems with students logging in, registering, retrieving all your material, and they will log out again. Okay, so this is the one which we set up. Okay, now you have to notify them. No, and you don't change any of this unless you want to set up a cutoff for the date. You can set a cutoff, so you can give a cutoff date. So if you set a cutoff date, they cannot enroll after the cutoff date. So sometimes lecturers may not want students to enroll after the first week, then they will enable both of these. And you set up your default dates, but by default, it is in the system, it is disabled. Now, this is your welcome message. So usually you can welcome your students here and you will give them some kind of a basic instruction, but this can be also in the form of a video. Some of the lecturers will prepare an introductory video here on YouTube and they will give a link here. So the student, you welcome them, give them a synopsis and so on and so forth. Now, once it's done, you save changes. Okay, I will just go to the chat window and I'll key in that so the people who come in can get the password key. It's ABCD. CD 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sharing it in the chat so those who come in later on, who join us later on, our colleagues can use that. Now, this has been already set up. So this is called enroll course code. It has been set up, and then I save the changes. And now from now onwards, the course is locked except for those students who want to, who have that specific password or passkey. That's usually shared in the group, usually by WhatsApp or other methods. But I will show you how to use the tools for chat and communication, which are specific to the our LMS or the Moodle LMS. Okay, now that's the first thing which has been done. Now there is another issue which comes up, which is the users who come in and who may be logging out or deregistering from the course somewhere in the middle. Okay, so this is what we go. So inside the users, okay, there is actually an advanced feature. Okay, so in users, you have a permission. Okay, look at the key here. So I go into the site administration, and then I go for users, and then I give permission. So there's something known as permissions here. Okay, now what happens in this case with the LMS? This is also another problem which has come up from lecturers from different faculties. It is cropping up. So we are advising everyone to do this. Usually when a student logs into a course or when they register for the course for the first time, all their content or their data starts getting captured by the system. Their login data, their assignment data, all the data is captured by the system. Now, suppose the students in the 7th week or the 8th week of the semester, somewhere, any time during the semester, they decide to deregister from the course. They register, they unenroll from the course. What the technical world is unenroll. Then there'll be a problem for you because all the students' data will be removed from the system. It's basically the student is like as if he or she has never registered for the course. So to prevent them, we actually have a system which allows you to block their deregistration. Okay. Okay, I just go back and show you from the beginning. So I go back to the course itself. So you go to your administration block, you'll see your users, enroll users, groups, and you have permissions. Okay, so you go to the permissions. Okay, now inside the permissions, you will see the permissions for this course. So this is permissions in course, Roadshow, Fpsk. Now all of you have access to this. So if you have a problem, you can ask me or you can contact the Center for E-Learning. We will show you how to do this again. So now in this, right, you have all these permissions here. Okay, so I'm going to highlight this one. Okay, so it comes here. It's here. Look for manual enrollment here, and then you look for unenroll self from the course. Okay. Now, when you see this unenroll self from the course, you go to the student and you click here. Click here. Remove. So you take away the student's permission to unenroll from the course. So I'll show you again. So go down to the manual enrollments, and then you have unenroll user from the course. I just zoom 1 minute. So it's easier to see. So unenroll users from the course manually. So then you do not give them permission here. So you are the person who will only have that permission to unenroll them. If not, they will unenroll, and then you cannot recover their data. Later on, they may complain that their assignment data has not been captured and so on and so forth. But there's no way we can help you either because you have or they have unenrolled themselves from the course. So this is one of the precautions you need to take with the system. Okay, now once your system has been set up, you can set up a basic chat in the system itself. I will show you how it's done. But before that, we'll go to the 1732. We'll go through that all over again. So you have a basic idea of what to do. So we turn our editing on. To close my chat windows here. I turn editing on. Okay, and the first one, which if you teach by the topic, you can give up, you can click here, for example. Okay, I suppose I'm teaching by topic. Okay, suppose you're teaching, you just have the topic there. If you're teaching by the course, the weekly schedule, you follow the weekly schedule. Now in this one, Usually in this week, the week prior to the first week, they will add the course synopsis. So you can add an activity or resource here. If you want to edit here, you can edit here. It doesn't really matter because the system will capture it wherever you add it. So the first thing the student should see is the course synopsis. So you add the course synopsis and you give it a name synopsis. Be careful with the selection of the icon because you need to use the specific icon for the PDF. I will highlight it later on once I finish this section. Synopsis. So this will be your introduction. For professional courses, you may have a different synopsis as compared to the other course. So if you have additional content, you need to add the synopsis accordingly. So always, as a good practice, you should always have display description on the course page. You always click on this by default, because by default it will not display description on the course page. But if you click on this, you will see all the content on a single page in a single load. So the student has more access to the navigation of the entire window. Now for the PDF file, you have to select your PDF file. I'm going to my folder on the desktop, and I have a training folder for PDF files. I will add a file to this. I'm adding a file from a desktop folder. Okay, so I just add a random file. So, training. Okay, so you can give it a name here, and I upload this file. Now in this one, you need to, the first one, no need to set, it's by default. Restrict access, no need. And you have activity completion, which is show activity as complete when conditions are met. It's only when you click on this icon, when you select this particular item from the drop-down box, that the student will be tracked. If you don't do this, the student will not be tracked. So you have to always click show activity as complete when conditions are met. Then the analytics will be enabled. Okay, so this is, you give it a hashtag. So this is the synopsis, and you put in your course code here. Now, why do you do the tagging? Is because if you are teaching more than one course, which most of us are teaching, then you cannot find a lot of material. So if you have these hashtags, you can search through the original page and you can track the course code here. This one you don't modify because this is tracked by the OBE system, or maybe in a professional course, a professional program, it's tracked by the professional tracking software. So we don't adjust competencies here. And once you're done, you save and display. Okay, now the synopsis is here. I just use my slides, so you'll just see the synopsis. Okay, so the synopsis is here. So you have achieved the first one. Now, if you want to record attendance, okay, I will go to the OBE. Okay. I'll go to the OBE system and I'm going to sign in here. I'll show you how to attach the attendance to this. Okay, so in OBE, you log into your OBE, you go to your course, COPO. Okay, and in this one, you will see the attendance. This one, you have your attendance. So for example, I'm teaching this course, I just go to attendance. And then you have an attendance link, right? So I'm just going to use it as an example. You copy this link here. Click on the link and you copy this link for the attendance from here. It's copied. You go back to your page. You go back to the course. Now you want to insert attendance in each and every of the elements, all of the weeks. So for example, in the first week, I want to insert the attendance because that's what the student will look for first. You add an activity or resource and you add an external tool. You click here on the external tool and you add it here. You have to give it a name. So it's attendance. And you have to give it the date and the time. And you have to use the tool URL here. So once you enter this, you don't modify any of the settings by default, and then you save and you display. Okay. Now, what happens is that when a student logs in to your particular course, the attendance will be open only for that time. So you must inform the students that the attendance is only open from, for example, 9 to 11. The OBE system will close it after that. So if the student logs in at 11:01, they will not be able to log in. So this one saves a lot of time because you don't have to use the QR code and display it during the class. This attendance is directly logged in by the student. So based on your requirement, so some of the lecturers may want the students to be in the class, so they will use the QR code displayed randomly, maybe after 15 minutes to check whether the student is there. But by general use, this is the way we do it here. So we have the attendance here. So the attendance is in the system itself. Now the next one, you obviously may be aware of it, is how to add activity or resource. So you can add your URL. Okay, so you add your URL here. So we add our URL, which is a link. Okay, so you have a URL to the lecture. So I'll just add a random URL. So you'll have lecture live. Always give the date and the time because the student will be tracking the search. If they search through the course, they will see the date and time. And here I have to give the external tool. So this one should contain the URL link to your lecture. So this I'm just giving an example, and then you should have a description of your lecture or your lecture note. Okay, so the appearance is, you don't modify this or else the student sometimes will have problem with the system. So don't modify this. Usually embed is a good option, but we don't embed. You just leave it as automatic. So it will direct the URL to the respective. This one is not changed. This one is not changed. And you have to click on this one. Show activity as complete when conditions are met. Then you will be able to track the students. If not, you cannot. Okay, so you save and display. And the system is going to have your live lecture. So you have your attendance and your live lecture here and your attendance here. Now, the next thing you want obviously to add is your lecture note file. So you can add your lecture notes here. Now, what we were advising the lecturers to do earlier is to get credit for your lecture notes, to get like an authorship for your lecture notes. You please deposit your lecture note in UMS OBE, the open access system, sorry, the UMS OER. Please deposit your lecture note in the UMS OER as well as OBE. So we have to do it in OBE for the course file. We have to do it in the OER because it enables you to get flexibility. So once you deposit either in OBE or OER, you will get a link. So that link you can add directly as a lecture note. You don't have to upload the lecture note for each and every semester unless you're modifying it. For example, teaching a subject in which there is new information, then you need to add it. So this will be your lecture note. So you can give a description. Usually here we give the introduction and the LOs, the learning outcomes for that particular module. Then we have our lecture notes. I'm going to add the lecture note from the course file. Just edit here and you edit, give it a name, lecture 1, and then you're done. Okay, so this one, right, for this particular section, I will show you this. Okay, so show you this one. Okay, there is one section here which says choose license. Now, if you choose all rights reserved, it means that nobody can reuse your lecture note. So if you select this all rights reserved, but be careful with this because if you have used material from other sources, which is copyright material, then you cannot use it as all rights reserved. Okay, if it's your original material, means each and every photograph is yours, all the lines of text are original from your authorship, then you can use. If not, you have to choose the other licenses. So usually the other ones are the Creative Commons licenses. I'm not sure whether you all are all aware of the Creative Commons licenses. You can just indicate in the chat box whether you are aware of Creative Commons and open licensing. If not, I will give you a brief overview of what it is. If not, if you are already aware, then I will skip that part. Okay, so you can indicate in the chat window if you are aware or not aware of open licensing. Okay, so once it's done, okay, so okay. Dr. Firdaus says brief you. So I will focus on the OER licensing immediately after this because that is a slightly different topic. Okay, I will show you how to generate an OER license. Okay, so I upload this file. I'm done. Again, for this one, you need to do this always. So always go back. So this one usually is embed. For lectures, you can use embed function, PDF. Okay, so not aware. So I got some chat saying not aware of open licensing. Okay, so I will give you a brief idea of what is open licensing after this, after the lecture. So in this one, we have the, in this one, right, appearance, you have your embed function. Use the embed function so the students can view the PDF directly without going in and out. Once you're done here, you have everything set. This one you don't modify. Restrict access is not modified. And you can always change this to show activity as complete when conditions are met. This one you change by default for all your content, because if you don't change it, you can't track the student. You will lose their tracking ability. So it's always show activity as complete when conditions are met. That's the last item in the drop-down box. Now, what is this button here called add restriction, and why is it very interesting or useful for blended learning? Now, when we do the MOOC training, we always use that button because it prevents students from crossing into the next lecture without completing the first lecture. So now, if I add a restriction, for example, I told my student, only students who downloaded the course synopsis can enter my lecture 1, because I want to ensure that the students know what they're going to be taught. So I can add a restriction here. So I click add restriction, okay, and I select activity completion. Now, the activity they need to complete is synopsis. Only when they complete synopsis, then will they be able to enter my lecture 1. So you can use this restriction to prevent students from jumping from one lecture to another lecture, or from, for example, they don't complete assignment and then they want to view the lecture. So you put a restriction there, you cannot watch or you cannot attend lecture 2 until you complete the assignment. That way you ensure that they will complete the assignment. So in blended learning, this what they call the operators, these are called operators, conditional operators are used to prevent the student from moving through the course at their own pace. Okay, but it depends entirely on the lecturer, because some lecturers may prefer to have the students moving at their own pace. For MOOC, we use restrictions. For general blended learning, we leave it up to the lecturers to do that. So the tag will be lecture 1, and usually this is lecture 1 with your course code. Okay, this makes it easier later on for you to navigate the course. Okay, you save and display. Save and display means it's displayed in the first instance. So you can see the lectures, the notes which I shared with you actually here. So now you have your lecture notes, you have everything here. Now you want to set up a chat with the students. There are multiple ways to do chats. One is to use the external platforms such as Discord, or to use the Discord or the WhatsApp or Telegram and so on and so forth. But it becomes very complicated because you have to use multiple platforms. So you can actually add an activity or resource which is a chat to each one. Okay, now see what's happening over here. You have 1732, right? And you can see these are resources and these are activities. Now the more activities I add, I actually add up to that 1732. So the synopsis is one synopsis. You have 7 lectures, 2 assignments, and 3 activities. Now, if I have a chat in each lecture, obviously I don't have a problem with meeting the KPI for the activities. So I add a chat. Okay, so this is a chat, add. And now this name of the chat room will be Pathology 101. So I give it for the first look. 101. So I give it, and then you give your description for that chat. You have to give the rules and regulations. For example, please ensure that you do not say something which is inappropriate and so on. And so you can add your rules here. Display description on the first page, and you can set up the chat session. So suppose I want to set up the chat session for 4th April from 10 o'clock. Okay, to onwards. So what will happen is that the chat time will be published. So usually for the classroom chat, we keep a specific time. Now, nowadays, what has happened, a trend, right, based on the publications on e-learning and all, what's happening is because of the WhatsApp and all these communication tools, people are talking about things outside of the hours of the class. So students will WhatsApp you at 10 o'clock in the night. Oh, I didn't understand it. That is not the way we are supposed to function. Because the class, the time allocated for the class is based on the student learning time. It is a specific time allocated for a specific activity. So so it should be focused on that particular event. When the thing about, so based on, there have been many publications analyzing the usage of the social media tools such as WhatsApp, Instagram, etc. for communication. What is happening is that if you communicate outside of those hours, it is not only disturbing the person, it is also becoming a distraction. So we are responding, but we are distracted. So this is why it's good to give a specific time for communication. So this is also affecting our cognitive abilities. Okay, suppose for instance, I am sitting in a meeting and I receive a chat for student asking information. What's happening for that time? I'm distracted from the activity. I move on to another activity. That is actually affecting our cognition, and it affects in a different way. There are many publications on this. So our neural networks get reprogrammed. So it may be the reason why nowadays, based on the data coming out, more and more students, even at a younger age, are getting distracted, even we ourselves. Okay, so that is why we give a specific time. So chat time usually is 30 minutes in a 2-hour lecture session. 30 minutes given for a specific activity where the mind is focused on discussing a specific topic without, so you give them the student and then you have your common module settings. You don't change this, restrict access none, unless you are forcing the students to chat, means you are allocating marks. So in that case, you need to force. Okay. So in that case, if you're allocating marks, you have to give this. So the student who chats or makes a comment will be getting the mark. If not, they will not get a mark. So then you have Stu activity as complete when conditions are met. Then you have your tag. So you can call it chat 1, and then you can give your course code and you just have a, so you save and display. Okay. Now you have a focus chat area in your lecture. So you, for example, the good practice is you have a breakout session in that chat. You can break out in your WebEx or in your Microsoft Office Teams. You can break out the class. You give them, usually I will give them a 15-minute window. So you talk about this specific topic. After 15 minutes, they report out. Each group gets 5 minutes to report out. So they report out on their deliberation, what they have chat. So this is the way we engage the students in class. Because with online classes, right, the biggest problem is engagement. You will have the issue where all the students will have the screen will be off. You don't know whether the student is there or not. And usually after I finish my class, I'm online waiting for everyone to log out. And 50% of the class, the students have not logged out. Even though I say, please log out because I need to log out and save the recording, they will not log out, which means obviously the class the student is there, but the class is not being, they are not attending the class. Okay, so this is how you add your content here. So now you have your chat and so on and so forth. Usually, now we are following 1732. We will be transitioning to 40, 40, 20. Now, what is 40, 40, 20? It's not something, don't be worried about it because it's 40 of content and then you have 40 of interaction. Okay, so what will happen when we transition to 40, 40, 20? These activities will be having a bigger weightage. Okay, they will have weightage and 20 will be the assessment. So you have 40 of the lecture note, just as we do now. 40 of the live lecture will be in the activities, all the live lectures, the chat, the feedback, etc. And then you'll have 20, which will measure the assessment, the midterms, and so on and so forth. Now, this is the activity. So we add a feedback. It's good to have a feedback forum or a feedback or a forum for each module. I do it. Okay, so I add a forum. So I add this here. I add a feedback here. Feedback for pathology. Okay, I just give it a feedback for. Yeah, so you can give a description here what you expect. So usually for the course you have for each lecture we have one feedback. So if there is some topic they didn't understand, you can put it up here. You can display in the feedback. Okay, so availability is you can enable it. This one you need to enable. If not, you will get feedback throughout the course. So usually you enable it for the week of the course. So usually 4th April to, for example, 11th April or 10th April. So you have 6 days to respond to the feedback. So after that, you disable it. Otherwise, you'll get feedback for your lecture 1 when you're in lecture 6, and then you will have to answer that. So question submission setting, usually you have your username because you want to know who the student is. And then you have after submission, you can give a completion message. Yes. And you say, thank you. Thank you for your feedback. I will respond to you. Yeah, I will respond to you, so on and so forth. And you can go on to the common module setting, restrict access. Usually this one is not done. Activity completion, usually feedback doesn't have unless you have made it compulsory for feedback. And you have to tags, will be feedback 1. So if you're teaching another course and you have a feedback for that as well, it's good to give the feedback 1 with your course code. Okay, so you have, when you search your course, when you search your home page, you don't get the feedback from both the courses. You can give it a feedback with the course code, and then you save and display. Now, when you save and display the feedback, it is not complete. You need to add a question for the feedback. So add a question. Usually we add a longer text answer. You can use any of these. Usually I select longer text answer so the student can respond. So the question is, what did you like best and least about lecture 1? Okay. So you give it a label. You don't have to, so this will be your feedback. The width of your label is this one. You don't have to modify because this is just a cosmetic appearance of that box. Save question. Okay. So what did you like best and least about lecture 1 is what the student will see. So you have templates. You don't change this. Analysis will give you after you conduct the feedback. You will have an analysis page. You have to show responses and show non-respondents. So you'll have all this. Okay. So if you analyze the data, you will see the feedback. Okay. Now, why is this important? This feedback. Okay, now the philosophy of blended learning, if forget about the 1732 for a while and you look at the philosophy of blended learning, the philosophy of blended learning is to actually engage students, engage them at multiple levels. Now we recognize, if you see the abilities of students, some students are very good in cognition, but our system is only measuring cognitive ability, psychomotor ability, and some affective domain. Usually we don't have these metrics well defined. So cognitive is measured, we are good at that. Psychomotor also, but there are certain students who will be good in certain other activities. Okay, now with medical course and professional course, of course you need to have everything together. But some of the courses which involve psychology and training, they will have students other abilities. So this is where these feedbacks and these forums become interactive, good, because some students may have a ability to do other things beyond the cognitive and psychomotor. So this one measures that. So feedback is good, to a good instrument to measure all these activities. Okay. So now we have a complete setup. So we have your attendance, the lecture note, the the chat, and the feedback. Okay, so if you do this consistently, you will actually achieve the 1732 without even bothering about that 1732. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I will request from Zul to share the link for your 1732, which is the PEP server in the chat window. Okay, by right, that one can only be accessed on UMS network. So some of our lecturers, when we had our like 30% and 50%, when we had our PKP, some of the lecturers were trying to access from outside UMS network. They could not access. So Zul has shared. Thank you, Zul. Please copy and bookmark that link in your system. But you can also access it by another way using your HR Online. Okay, in your HR Online, you can go to your CV and you can access your 1732, your pass or fail for your respective course. I won't show that to you now because if I go through HR Online, it's going to take a lot of time and it may hang the system. But I will show you if I have time after I do my training, I will show you how to do that. Okay, now comes the next part of the system, which is the quiz and so on and so forth. Okay, let's look at the next thing. So I hope this is clear to all of you, all our respected lecturers, doctors, associate professors. I hope this is clear to you. If this is not clear, please chat, or you can turn on your mic. So just to summarize this part, so the first element is the synopsis. Synopsis should be always there. And the icon for this is a PDF. I'll zoom on it because if you're using phone, it's hard to see. Okay. Okay, yes, you will have an error in attendance because I have just inserted a random link. Okay, that's a link to my course. It's just for example, because I cannot generate an OB for for this particular training. I cannot do an OB for this because it's not part of the academic or not part of BPA. So I cannot create. So I've just created a random link. So when you log in, you will have an error. Okay, so announcement is here. This is by default. Synopsis is here. So make sure that you use this PDF icon. Then we have our various elements here. Your attendance, important, because it's required for our system. The lecture, live, date and time, the lecture note, the chat, and the feedback. Okay. Now this chat will only be active during when all the students are logged in. So what happens when you're logged out? Okay. What happens when you're logged out and your students are chatting? They leave a default message. You can only see it when you click here. Okay. Zoom here to the top of your screen here. Next to your name, you will see the chat balloon here. These two balloons here. This cloud. Okay. Click here. You will see the chat here. Okay. So if anyone posts anything when you're offline, you will see it over here. If not, you will see it when you're inside the window. Okay. So this is the first part. Now, when students are communicating with you, you will use WhatsApp as a default means of communication, but you don't have to do that. There is actually something else I will show you here. It's called Moodle Mobile app. You can go into your Play Store or into your Android Google the Google downloads, and you can actually download this app. Okay, this is a Moodle app. So once you download this Moodle app into your phone, the Moodle app is dedicated only for the smart UMS or any other Moodle system which you use in the university. So in UMS, you are using smart. So if you're using a Moodle in any university, the lecturers will use this. They won't use WhatsApp to communicate with the student because the Moodle mobile app will actually allow you to communicate with students. So whenever you post anything in the chat, you can chat using Moodle. And also you can save this as a record of your interaction because WhatsApp is quite difficult. You have to back up. Then you have to save that backup. You use Moodle mobile app. You can download your communications here. Okay, so you have a log of everything which is happening in your Moodle mobile. So I would recommend to you from the Center for E-Learning to use Moodle app in your system. It's very simple. You log in with your user ID and password, just as you do with a UMS user ID and password. Okay, so that's your Moodle mobile app. So that one will pick up all your data. So Moodle mobile will not only capture the chat, it will also capture your entire data set. Okay, now I'm going to show you one functionality, which is the group. I do not know if in the Faculty of Medicine, whether you'll assign students into groups or whether everything is done individually because it's a professional course. So maybe you are very particular about individual output. So, but however, if you are going to assign students to groups, actually you go to this. Okay, I go back to my course again and I'm going to scroll down. I turn my editing on. Okay, ensure the editing is on. Now, if you want to create groups, okay, groups in your course, and that group you want them to submit assignment based on a group. So what you need to do is you need to go to users and you can go to groups. Okay, here there's something called groups. Now the grouping can be done using various methods. One is to assign them based on the group. For example, if you have students from different disciplines and you want to assign them based on their individual strengths for that particular discipline, multidisciplinary group. In that case, it's better to do a manual group. So I create a group called interdisciplinary, for example, interdisciplinary. I just give it a brief. I give it a group ID number. So I give it 1, 2, 3, ID 1, 2, 3, 4. I just give it a random ID and I give a group description. So in this one, I tell them what is expected for them. Okay, with blended learning, when we do the complete training, it's very important to give clear instruction because blended learning is basically online. If the student does not get clear instructions with regard to what they're expected to do and what is the rubric, it will be very hard for them to complete the course because students, many times their comments are the expectations are not clear. So this is where it's very important to give clear descriptor. Okay, so you have a description, and usually a group will have a enrollment key, but you don't have to give this, and you can put a picture for the group. The picture will be any icon. You can have it. This is not like not compulsory, but you can have an icon here. And once you're done, you save your changes. So now I've created a group called interdisciplinary 0. Now I can create another group called interdisciplinary 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. So I can create one more group called, I will just do it for that, in this 2. Okay. Okay. I again give it a 2, 3, 4, 5, and I give it a description and enrollment key no. Usually we give it an icon because we want the student to see the icon. So now I have interdisciplinary 1 and 2. Okay. Now if I want to create one, I can add users. So who do I add? I can add anybody from the course. So I click here, add. I click one, add. And okay, I created one group. Okay, now I'm back to groups. So I have group 1, and then I want to create group 2. So in group 2, I add or remove user again. So again, I have add. If you have overlap, it will tell you that as well. And okay, so now it has created 2 groups, back to groups. Okay, now I have 2 groups here, so I can click and I can see who's in which group. Okay, suppose you want to have a moderator for both the groups, one of the student assigned, you can do that as well by assigning them to both the groups. Now you have these groupings inside. Okay. This is a group. Now, suppose you don't want to do this, you want to have a mixed group based on the students' ability to interact with each other, because generally in context, the students have to be able to interact with each other, because that's a part of their training to work with different kinds of people with different competencies and skills. So in that case, you can auto create groups. So you auto create groups, which means that you can call it a group at the rate of assignment 1. You just give it, you can give a number of groups you can do. For example, we have few people, so we'll do 3. We select members with role. You don't change any of these. Allocate members randomly. And then you don't do anything, you submit. Now you have a group called group assignment 1, group B assigned, and group C assigned. So these are group A, B, and C, which the system has assigned randomly. So now I have selected 3 groups, so you can select any number of groups. Okay, so these are 3. If you feel that somebody is not supposed to be in the group, you can actually assign them and add or remove users. So this has created 3 to 2. Because I've asked for 3 groups. If there were 6 students and I created 2 groups, it would have assigned 3 and 3. But if there were 7 students, it's odd number, and I asked for 2 groups, it will assign the last student to any of the groups. Okay, so it ensures that there is no single user in any group. Okay, so that's the way it works, the way the Moodle system is set up. So this is my overview. So I have seen the groups, so I can see who's in which group. Okay, so that's how you set up the group. Let's go back to the course and you execute this group function. Okay, now how do you use the group function for assignment? Let's add an activity resource, which is assignment. Here, add, and I call it assignment by group. By group. Okay, so give your rubrics here. Again, for the rubrics, it's important to give the rubric in the form of a PDF file. For professional courses, there may be specific rubrics. So for general courses, we use, you use this one. Or any of the other rubric methods are there. But usually for professional courses, the rubrics are very well defined. But for general courses, 1 second. Okay, you can use this one. Okay, I'll share the link for you. But I doubt it will be used for your course, because you all are professionals, so that you'll have a different kind of rubric. I've seen the rubrics; they are much more stringent and pertinent to the subject. Okay, this is Ruby Star. So if you're generating rubrics, for example, to measure the competencies in other courses, you have a rubric here. So you can go to any of these. For example, you're doing writing rubrics. For assignments, you can actually have the rubrics here, oral rubrics. So there's oral presentation rubric. Okay, these are automated rubrics here. You can get all the rubrics here. you can give it the marks, and you can download this rubric from here. Okay. This training for rubrics, we generally do it in a blended learning environment when we have a specific training for blended learning. So we teach you how to develop rubrics for different kinds of presentations, assignments, laboratory, etc., etc. So this is the rubric creator. Okay, just close all this. Go back to my course. Okay, so coming back to my assignment, I will put a rubric here. Display description on course page. This is for your additional files. So this may be related to your files which you want to upload. For example, a diagram of the skeletal image or skeletal muscle. You can have this over here. You allow the submission. You allow submission from. Usually this one is enabled because we don't want the student to submit assignment until it's too late, and then you have to grade it later on. Okay, so okay, this one has an upload limit of 20 MB. Now, okay, now comes down to that part about what if it's more than 20 MB. Usually by default, the highest is 20 MB because we are catering to around more than 12,000 students. And if everyone uploaded more than 20 MB, the servers will be swamped. So we set it up to 20 MB. What if it is more than 20 MB? Earlier, we were asking the students to use Google Drive, but because the Google Drive is limited, we're asking you can use the Microsoft Teams. Okay, all our students have the Microsoft Teams account, and I will show you how you can use that for the, after I finish this session, I will show you, because for Microsoft Teams, I have to open another window, and then it will clash with this window. So you allow the activity. The feedback type is, okay, submission settings, and here you have the group submission. So you don't change these settings. You go to the group submission settings. Okay. Students submit in groups. Yes. Okay. Require group to make submission. Yes. Okay. Grouping for students are none. Now what will happen in this case? Only the groups. The student can only submit my group, which means that one member for each group can submit the session, the particular assignment for this particular session. Okay, so the only one can submit. So notification is here. Yes, usually we notify the graders and we notify student is yes. So once they submit, they'll receive an email or a notification saying that they have been, the assignment has been approved. Now, this is one thing which we always ask the lecturer to do, because this will enable you to get your Excel worksheet of the grades upon completion of that particular module. Okay, so this is something which we do. So what we do is we have a grade setting, and the maximum grade is 100. For example, if you go to your course synopsis and you have assigned 20 marks for synopsis, 20 marks for the assignment, then you have to add that maximum grade here, 20. So when your student submits the assignment, the grading you will be allowed to do until 20. So you can give up to 19.999 or 20 as full mark, but you cannot give 21. So this is the simple direct grading which you can do here. So this will enable you to grade the students and obtain the grade book later on. So if you use the system whereby you already assigned the 20 marks have been allocated for assessment of the assignment, you don't have to do a recalculation again. So that will actually save you a lot of time when you do the grading and your marks endorsement. So everything is the same. Here is the same. You can restrict access, activity completion. So some lecturers may say you can only complete the assignment when you complete lecture 1. Let's do it. So we should only mark lecture 1. So they can only if they attended the lecture note, for example. Then you add restriction. So only when they attend the lecture, when they view the lecture note, they can do the assignment. So this will by default stop students who are. So I just set the tag, assignment 1 course code. Okay, save and display. Save and display. Now you have the, okay, so unable to make submission. Okay, so I just save this grade. So go back to that. Okay. Now the group, only the groups can submit. Okay, so somebody from each group, one person will submit, then the other two will be blocked. If there is two members in one group, one submits not. So you can try it out. You just submit a blank PDF file and that's it. So I'm going to turn my editing off briefly so that we can see the overview of the course. So generally, this is the structure of a course, the course by week. So you'll have your assignment, your chat, your feedback, your lecture note, your live lecture, and your attendance date time links. Okay, now let's look for activity of this course. Now, suppose I want to track how my course is doing at any given time. So how you can do the tracking is by clicking on this icon. You click on this particular link, reports icon here, click on reports. And then in this one, you can see all the data of what's going on in the system. Okay, so at any given time. So generally what I do, the logs and live logs will come in a text format. So you'll see like a large set of data set with the timestamp, the IP address of the computer, and the user ID. So this is quite difficult to look at because it makes no sense for us. You have to download. So what Moodle has done is the analytics feature. So let's look at analytics graph. Okay. And suppose I want to measure the number of active students in this particular class. This is why I ask everyone to log in for the course so I can show you how it is done. So I click here, number of active students. Okay. Now you can see this. Okay. So that means at 9 o'clock, there were 7 active students. At 10 o'clock, there are 3 active students. Now, what does the word active student mean? This camera is not tracking activity. It's actually the interaction with the content. So this means that at 10 o'clock, 20 people, 20 clicks were there on the mouse. So 20 clicks. So as you can see, the clicks. So this is measuring the clicks. Okay. In the morning, this is usually registration. Okay. So you can see what everyone was doing at any given time. Now this is very good for you because if you are teaching a course and you can apply the chart only for one day, you can track actually the activity on that particular day. Now we are only on one day of the course, so it's only one day. But suppose you are going to track the course for 30 days, you can track the activity here. So you apply for 30 days, you can track 30 days of the course here. So this is a good tool to identify what students are doing in your class. Now there is another thing which you can track here. So I go to reports and I look at the analytics graph and I look for the content access. Okay, so I just select all of these. So which content are the student accessing and how does it help you? So select all and I just click build graph. Okay. Now this content access is very good to determine what students are accessing. For example, if you put up access to the lecture note and students are accessing that lecture note multiple times, it means either they didn't understand it or they are having some problem with that particular lecture. So this enables you to view or identify the access. So announcement is accessed by one and not accessed by others. So you can basically find out what's going on in your course or your teaching and learning by simply looking at this access of the content. So you have many other features here. You have assignment, submission, number of active students, content access, and grade. So you have distribution of hits. So this shows you who's active and not active in the course. So you can actually see this. So that means if you see this kind of icon, it gives you an, I show you, for example, it shows activity, but this is actually not active now because this is only one day. Usually after about 1 week, you will see this kinds of icon changing. So now it's showing the activity in real time. All this is in real time. So this enables you to track functionality of your course in real time. We also have a statistics feature, but I won't cover that because basically the graphs will show you everything. Okay. So you can access this in okay. So you can look at the statistics and you can download this data as well. Okay, so that covers the first part, which is the content. Okay. Okay, now I will hand over to Zul for that 1 or 2 slide because he will show you something which is specific. Zul, you can please share your screen. Then I go back to the next part.
Okay, Doctor. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I will stop sharing. You can share. Yes, who has asked a question? Dr. Fariz.
Yeah,
Yes.
hi, Prof.
Yeah.
I still trying to get the attendance. I already tried to click the OBE and put in the Smart V3, but whenever I click the Smart V3, apparently it's error. Even can you try to repeat again? Maybe I was the process I was
Okay.
clicking.
Okay, doctor, I will repeat after this. Okay. Usually we use that for the student, but the link which I gave you just now is for my course. So you cannot, if you click on it, it will not give you, because that is actually going to my course. Okay. So did you try it out for your course?
Yeah, actually I tried, but
Okay.
usually we are using the QR code. But
Oh.
for the link one, I try, but it's cannot be used.
Oh, usually, doctor, what we do, right? Earlier I was using QR code, but sometimes the student will come after 15 minutes in the class late, and then again I have to switch on the QR code. Then they get disturbed the other class. So I used to I give them the link. But if you are using the QR code, it's okay. I will show you later on how we do. Okay. Once Zul finish his session, Zul, you can start, Zul. Thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning still to everyone. I'm Zulfadli. I think mostly of the participant today know me. And with me here is Nora also. So I'm about to make an introduction to the new format of the year 3 to year 5 model in the Smart V3. Okay. I think clear. So this is the new layout for the model for year 3 and year 4 and year 5. So we have some discussion with Dr. Firdaus before this. So we come out with this layout, which is the course will be divided into 4 sections. The two synopsis section, lecture note section, activity and assignment section. I'm sorry with my spelling error. Okay. So this is the comparison between the old course code format and the new course code format lah. So the old one is basically using the weekly based format, which is the course will be divided into weeks section. As you can see here, for the example, the synopsis is under 22nd November until 28th November. So for the new course format, the model format, it will be put up under synopsis section. So we call this a section. Okay. So this is the benefit we find out, which is for the all course format, the model content mostly jumbled up. Some of the lecture note will be under a different weeks. Some is at the top and some is at the bottom. So it's hard to find content and activities, mostly for students, because each rotation will be different students, I think. So, and then for the lecturers, it's hard to find the add or delete content. I mean, for this one is to add a new lecture note or maybe to delete the lecture note. This will be hard for them, for lecturers, because sometimes we thought we already delete the lecture note, but actually in the bottom of the the course. Okay. For the new course format, it will benefit the students and lecturers to find the content and activity, because we divided them into 4 sections. So let's say the student want to find a lecture note, they just go up to the lecture notes section. Okay. And this is also to ease the lecturer to add and delete content. Okay. So this is the overview of the new model new model section. So as I said before, the synopsis section is the model synopsis, which cater the 1732 the one section, and then the lecture note, it's cater the lecture notes include notes, URL, pages, books, and so on lah. Okay. And then the activity section is cater for the forum, chat, survey, feedback, and some many more. And the assignment section will cater the assignment and quiz. So it will be 172 base. For those who need to know more into the 172 can go to the URL. This is the infographic we provide. Okay, and this is for the information, just for information to all participants. Actually, we are also changing the course code format into a new one, which you can see here. At first, it is arranged based on the module code, module name, and the rotation semester session tag. This is what we call tag. The tag is based on the SMP, but in Smart V3 also we use the same. So we can easily detect the semester and the session. But for Fpsk, before this we specially created new tag using this R1 based on the rotation lah. You have rotation 1, 2, 3, 4. So if the PSP is on rotation 4, this will be changed. But this is the all course format. For this new course code format, we have changed the rotation code is in the front of the model name. Okay, it will be course code, rotation number, module name, and the semester and session tag. So this one is going back to the original setting, which will be make us in PEP and BSM LNPT staff to audit the course. Okay. So for this is the example. For the all course code format, it will be like this: rotation 1, rotation 2, rotation 3. But for the new one, the rotation code will be at the front after the course code. This is also make students and lecturers to identify in the my course. It will be shown like this at the front of the course name. Okay. So I will show the example in the Smart V3 after this. This is the flowchart, which is this is how we create the model in the Smart V3. And the first step will be created by the admin system, and then the assign lecturers and student. These 1 and 2 steps will be doing by the admin system. But at the third step, it's to import the content from previous rotation. This one I will do the demo after this. And then the module ready to be used. Okay. This is the step. You just click the import button here, and then add the module or code in the search box, and then click continue. Okay. So I have example, maybe. So I'm doing the demo right now. For example, I'm preparing for my rotation 4. So this is the course. I have this synopsis, lecture note, activity assignment, but it is still empty. So the way I import the content from rotation 3, this is the rotation 3. You just go to the rotation 4, the new one, the fresh code, and then just scroll down and then click import. So in the search box, I just copy this model course name, and then I just paste it here and then click search. So I click the radio button here, then click search again, and then I just click continue. So I can just import everything and then click jump to final step. Okay, continue. Then my rotation 4 will import everything, the lecture note, the activity, and the assignment. So it's the fastest and the easiest way to import the lecture note. And for those lecturers who need to edit or add the lecture note, you just click the turn editing on, and then let's go to the file you want to use. Let's say just use just click drag and drop the file like this, and turn editing off. That's the fastest way to add the lecture note. But to delete it is just click edit and delete. Okay. So I think so for this I think I'm done with the course preparation. But for these 2 steps, I will have a special session with FND to prepare the module, the Smart V3 course. Okay, Dr. Kenneth?
Yeah. Thank you, Zul. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Zora. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, if I have 1 minute, Prof. Kenneth.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
actually,
sure.
for this, actually, dear lecturers, I believe that actually what we are doing here actually to ease all of our lecturers and also students' way of using Smart V3, because in terms of the weekly format, actually what we saw is actually quite messy, especially in one semester. Those who are in the year 3 until year 5, the lecturers may encounter up to 3 to 4 rotations for the students. So they will be repeating this rotations for 4 times per semester. So what we want to is to make it things easier for you to trace your, so that you can just copy and paste your old lecture notes into your new rotation when the new rotation starts. So setting up these rotation names and modules will be up to FND also. But then the lecturers also, once the new module is created for the new rotation, then then the lecturers actually can themselves choose which of the files that they wanted to import onto the next rotation. But I believe the lecture notes will be all the same for the whole year, because you will be basically teaching the same things, but small modifications can be made, and this format actually can help you to to make things easier for you, because repeating or uploading the same things 3 to 4 times per year actually might be such a hassle. So this format and also this way of importing the lecture notes from the old rotation to the new rotation will make things easier for you. and all that's left is for you to upload or create new activity and also assignment for the invitations. So I think that's all from Fadli. So I just give the floor back to Prof. Kenneth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Firdaus. Thank you very much, Mr. Zulfadli, for setting up the system for backup and restore, because this is one of the element which I think a lot of the medical faculty will benefit because of the time involved. Okay, I will just share my screen again. So I just show you the screen. Okay. Okay. Okay, now the screen.
Yes, Prof.
Okay. So Zul mentioned backup and restore, right? So this is actually a feature which is present in the system. So now suppose you have completed your course at the end of the 14th week, usually by default 14 weeks, right? So there are certain things actually in your course which you can actually do. For example, you don't want the students to view all the lecture at one time. You can actually do the feature. For example, you have because you are going to distribute by a week, so you'll have all the 14 lectures in 1 week, right? So if you want to hide the lecture notes, you can actually do this. You turn the editing on first, and then you go to edit here, and then you go to the hide button. Okay, you can do this and you hide. Once you hide it, you'll see it hidden from students. So suppose you don't want the students to view all the lecture in one go, you can actually use this hide feature. So I'm going to click on show. When you click on show, it's open again. But when you do this hide and show, right, make sure that you don't hide and show the entire week, because if you click by here, right, if you click hide week or the hide topics, the entire topic will be hidden. So you have to do this. If you click here hide week, everything is actually hidden. So you don't do that. You go to the individual lecture and then you hide it based on the flow you want to be available to the students. Okay, so that's how you do that thing. Okay, I'll just cover the question which was raised earlier regarding the OB system first and the attendance. Now, most of the lecturers will prefer to use the QR code. So EMS, we go to the UB system. Okay, most of the lecturers will prefer to use the QR code because QR code ensures that the student is in the class. But what I have noticed is many of the students will come in late and they will ask for the QR code in the middle of the class, and then it interrupts the flow of the lecture. So what you do, you go to your lecture here. Okay, for example, this one I just zoom. So I go to my lecture here and I go to my attendance here. Then you do the normal procedure. You first get the link for attendance, for example, here, and then you copy the link. Copy this link, okay? So you have copied it by default here. Okay, now you come back to your window here. I close this first. I go back to my course window here, and now I'm going to turn editing on. And for instance, I want to add the attendance here. You add an activity or resource and you put here external tool. Here, this is the button here. It's called external tool here. Don't select the link, select the external tool. External tool, add. I zoom out again, and here is the place where you put in a URL. So this is where I copy and paste the URL. The URL will only be active for the time at which you have set in OB. That's by default. So this is attendance. And then you put in the date and the time. Okay, this is important by default, so they know what you don't change any of these buttons, you don't change any of these, and you just save and display by default. Now, when the student logs into the system, when they click on that link, they will actually see this. They actually have to complete this, sign in, and then they have to log in. So if you do that, it's easier for you to manage your class so that you don't have to interrupt the class again and again for the student come and then you want to display QR code. It disturbs you, right? So especially when you're teaching some focus subject. So that's what we do for the QR code, the attendance. So when you click here, okay, it will immediately show this kind of a login window. So this is one of the recommendations. You don't have to do it, but it's a good practice. Okay. I hope that answers the question. Now we go back to this particular course and you can see the grade book. This is another feature which is very useful for you, especially when you are teaching students with from multiple streams, or they're joining your course and then you're having difficulty with managing all those different grades. Okay, so what you do is this system has a grade book. Now, if you remember earlier, I have set up the grade for assignment. Okay, now in this grade book, you will get an output which is an Excel file. So, okay, so we have all our grades. Okay, so suppose I have assignment 1. Okay. Okay, let me go back, and if I have given marks for assignment 1, the marks for assignment 1 will be appearing in this particular section. Now, when I have my grade book ready, all my grades are there. For example, I have assignment 1, assignment 2, the midterm exam, and other, you will get a course total. Now, all you need to do is to export here. So you go back to the grader report here. Currently, we don't have any content inside. You go to export, this export button here. Okay, you click on the export button and it will ask you what you want. For example, I only want assignment in my course and my course total. Okay, now I click on the Excel spreadsheet here. So you have export, you click on Excel spreadsheet. If you click open document, you can open it with any other thing other than Excel, but usually we are using Excel. So we click on the Excel worksheet. Okay, you have an Excel spreadsheet here. You have your export and then you download. When you click on download, the system will download an Excel worksheet for you. So this is a very good way to set up your grade book. So when you begin your semester, you begin that particular session, all you need to do is identify from your course synopsis what are the different marks for each respective assignment, quiz, and so on and so forth. And then you set it up in the system. Once you set it up, you don't have to worry about doing a manual editing on the Excel worksheet. All you do is use it from here itself. Okay, so that's how you set up the grade book. So again, for the blended learning training, when we do it, we actually ask you to bring your course synopsis and we set up the grade book for you. We are individually, because everyone's synopsis will be different, the assessment criteria will be different, so we need a different grade book for everyone. So a grade book is a very good way to manage your learning management system, your blended learning system. Okay, now the next one which Zul mentioned earlier is to backup and to restore. Now if you look at your course block, right, you will see this particular button here which is a backup and a restore. Now generally what we do is after the week 14, when we finish all our classes, we back up the file before it gets archived by the by JTMK. Your file will be archived, but you must backup for your course file. So there's a button here which is called backup and one which is called restore. Just now Zul has shown you the restore feature. Let's go and click on the backup feature. Okay, so I'm going to click backup. Now this is the course for today. Okay, now I want to backup everything, including the users, because I require that for my course file. So I click, don't unclick any of these things. And then you go to next. Again, you don't unclick anything because it'll save everything for your course file. Next. Again, you click nothing. Everything is saved and then you perform the backup. Okay. Now, when you are performing the backup, a file is created and this file is actually here. So continue. And here is the file. Okay, so this is the file which I have created for my backup for this particular course. So I can click here download and the file can be downloaded, and usually we used to save this file in our desktop. Earlier we were saving in Google Drive, but of course now we will not be able to use Google Drive. So we save this file in our desktop. So this contains all the information related to the particular course. So I click here download and I save it on my computer here. So I will just save it first before I show you the next step. Desktop. And then I save it here. Okay, the file has been saved. So when you want to restore this, you can actually click here and restore it to that particular course. Okay, what Zul mentioned earlier. So this is the restore course, but when I usually restore it, I will not put in the user information. Okay, so continue. So when I usually back up, usually we don't include the user information inside that. So I will show you how we restore it, because here this file has the user information. Okay. So continue. Okay, now I need to select a category. So I have called a course. I have a course called Backup and Restore. So I just search for that course. Okay, for example, in your particular demonstration just now, Zul has given you the course. Okay, so I just look for it. Okay, so the course is too big, so there's too many courses. So usually you need to have a specific course. Okay, restore. You need to have a specific course code. Okay, the course is here. It's called Roadshow Restore. Okay, I've created a course for you. But when you create a specific course, for example, you have module 1, module 3 for your respective course code, you need to key in exactly that name here. Okay, so now I'm going to click here, Roadshow Restore, and I search for this course. Okay, so the course is here, Roadshow Restore, and I continue. Okay, so in this one, in the Roadshow Restore, I do not want to include the users. So I unclick here, unenrolled users. I don't want to enroll you for the next course because a new batch of students will be coming in for that course. So if I have to unclick this one. Okay. Everything is done. You go to next. So everything is done except the user data is just asking you to select. So no need to select anything here. Perform restore. Okay, continue. Now this is a course called Roadshow Restore. I created it specifically for the demo. In the Roadshow Restore course here, you can see that all the content from which you have created in this particular course, which you did today, is actually restored to this Roadshow Restore. But if you see the course, right, the people, it will not show anybody besides you. You're the Penchara and the course creator, so it shows you. It does not show everybody else. But if I show you the other course which we are doing just now, you can see all our participation over there. Okay, so that's how you actually create a backup and restore. Generally, we ask all the lecturers to create a backup and restore at the end of the session because you need to have that backup for your course file. So in case you have in case you lose any of your course files, you will still have the original backup inside. Okay, so I go back to my course. Okay, so I hope it's clear about how we do the backup and restore. So when you have many courses inside the system, you have to search. Okay, I go back to my roadshow. So this is why you need to have the hashtag, because I have hashtag this particular course. So if you are teaching multiple courses in the system, you can still track your course. So please hashtag all your courses with your, as you mentioned, the R1, rotation 1, you need to put that particular code R3. So you can put it as a hashtag. So you can actually track that system. Now you have all your systems in place. Okay, so you have your backup, your restore, you have your course, the course gradebook. Okay, that's what I have covered. So we'll move on now to the next part, which is the Creative Commons and the licensing. Do you have any kind of questions related to this particular training, the first part, before I move on to the Creative Commons and open source, open access licensing, open licensing? Any questions are there? I just turn on the chat because I cannot see the chat. No questions so far. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's look at the Creative Commons and OER and open licensing. Okay, if you look at the bottom of the page of our learning management system, which is this here, you will see here this license here called CC, BY, and NC. Okay, what it means is that this is a Creative Commons website. This is the BY, which is the CC BY means that person who has created the content is attributed, and NC means non-commercial. So all your lecture notes which are put in over here, which are uploaded here, you cannot include any kind of material which is copyrighted. If you have a copyrighted material over here, you should attach the approval letter from that agency or that publisher or that author which gave you the right to use that copyright. or else it can lead to prosecution later on, because we are actually sharing material using a Creative Commons VY. Now, what happens is, suppose you created your lecture on your own with your own content, you can actually share it using, you can share it as a Creative Commons lecture with a BY. BY means that lecture is attributed to you, and NC means it cannot be commercialized. So none of the material which is over here, which we use in the Smart 3, can be used by others to get commercial benefit from it. Okay, so this is one thing which you should be take care of. So where does all of this actually come from? It actually, I just log out from my system and I will show you the Creative Commons website. Okay, this is where we have our Creative Commons licensing. So this is creativecommons.org, and this is where the Creative Commons content is actually shared. Now, what is Creative Commons? Actually, when you create content, we all create content all the time, like lecture notes and so on and so forth. This is actually a part of our intellectual property. Okay, it's copyright. We can copyright. You can actually copyright your lecture modules. You can publish them. You can compile all your lecture modules, provided that you don't use other people's content. If you use other people's content, you cannot copyright them. So you copyright all your lecture notes. You can publish your lecture note as a book. Okay, you can publish it over here with a copyright under the Malaysian Intellectual Property Organization as a MIPO. So you get a copyright. So you can sell that book and so on and so forth. So for copywriting, there are certain benefits. One of them is you can share your book with and get commercial income from that. In fact, I have seen in the early days, a lot of the lecturers from the Faculty of Medicine had actually developed modules, books under the UMS publisher or UMS, Penerbit UMS. But if you are generous and want to share your work, you can actually share it using a Creative Commons license. Now, what is the license? Okay, I'll show you what this license is. So when you create any content and you upload it to the web, you can actually opt for a license. So you can share your creative work as Creative Commons. Now, why is the world actually moving to Creative Commons? Because a large amount, when you have to look at the fact, when we are creating a lecture note, it's not something which is of our own knowledge, because we are born with no knowledge. So we actually use content from the internet. We are getting that content from everywhere. We are rephrasing it and reusing it. So once you reuse the content, because you are a subject matter expert in your field, that content has got what is known as curation. It has value. So many of the universities, starting with MIT in the 1970s and 1980s, they created this system whereby they could share things using open access. Now, all the universities in the world are using open access and Creative Commons to share their content, because it improves the visibility of the university and also the visibility of the lecturer. So how do you create this license? Okay, so what you do is you go to the Creative Commons website and you can click on share your work. So you can get started here and you can create your license for your work. Okay, now the license is not something which is registered in Malaysia or registered anywhere in the world. This is a Creative Commons license which enables the work to be shared internationally anywhere in any form. Okay, but there are certain rules for that licensing. For example, if you create Creative Commons licensing, all the license gets attributed to you. Attribution means wherever whoever, suppose I'm in South Africa, I'm a lecturer and I want to use your lecture note, I will download your lecture notes from the website. But I can only share it provided I attribute you, which means I have to acknowledge that the lecture note is from you. So how do you do this? Is by using the licensing. So the license has features which enables you to share it. Okay, so if you click no, you will see this one changes here. So you cannot change this content. You means somebody who shares your content has to show, for example, you had 14 lecture note, 14 slides. They have to show all the 14 slides. So then you click on no. If you click on yes, you allow them to modify. They can adapt your work, which means if they only want to use 7 lectures out of 14, 7 slides out of 14, they select yes. If otherwise they select no, means you have to show it as such. Okay, and there's another button here which says yes as long as others share alike, which means that anyone who shares your lecture notes has to share it under the same license. Then you have commercial or non-commercial work, which is yes and no. If you select no, your work cannot be used commercially, which means that any medical college or university cannot reuse your lecture note. If you select yes, they can use it to make money. So you are given this option to select all of these. So usually the most open license is yes. And usually if you select no, you see this green button will change. It's not a free culture license, which means that there's a term called free culture. Okay. Now all these terms are actually developed by the United Nations, UNESCO. UNESCO has developed these terms, and they have actually encouraged all the countries to share everything with open license. So I click here, and this is the license. Okay. Now this is called Attribution 4.0 International License. Now how do you select this license? So if you have a web page, what you need to do is you need to copy this license and put it on your web page. So you copy this and you put it on your slide. You have your lecture notes or your slides, you can put the Creative Commons logo on your slide. So you copy it. For example, I will just go to my Office 365, and you can see if I create a lecture note, you can copy it and put it in your slide. Just close this first. So this is how you use the open licensing to enable it. So for example, if I have a slide here, I can create a slide, PowerPoint slide. Okay, I just put a blank slide here just for your benefit. So this is my lecture note. And then I click here. I put the slide here. Now this will copy the Creative Commons license here. This work is shared under Creative Commons Attribution International License. Okay, I can put. So then you can copy and paste this icon here. There's an icon here. So this icon means that the work is shared online. Okay, the icon comes on your slide. So when your slides carry this icon, or even your posters or images carries the icon, it means it's shared on this license. Now, this is not a compulsory thing to do. This is an option for everyone to do, but it's encouraged by the Ministry of Higher Education to do this because it enables us Malaysia to comply with the global trend. Okay, so this is not a compulsory thing to do, but be careful with this licensing, because if you have any material which you copyright, you want to patent it, or you want to go for PERECA or the competitions, and you want to show it as a copyrighted material, then you should not use this licensing in your slides. Okay, but it has a plus and it has a benefit, and it also has some things which you should not do. Also, you do not share any copyrighted content on your, for example, on your Smart 3. Okay, that's the rule we follow by default. Okay, so that's about the Creative Commons. So I hope that answers the question which was posed earlier about the Creative Commons. Is it clear? About the Creative Commons? Okay, thank you. So that's the Creative Commons spirit. Actually, we have a special course which is to do training only on Creative Commons and how to use the material. Because in the Creative Commons, you can actually use all the material used by others. Okay, so for example, you have this work, right? You have share work. You can search for image. Okay, so you click here on search for image. Okay, now this is, you can look, see, this is Openverse. Okay, so this is WordPress. You can look for 600 million items. There's everything from related to, for example, you want to search for pathology. Okay, so I'm just using pathology. You can search here for images, audio, all content, and you look here. Okay, they call it Openverse. Who is this? The Facebook calls Metaverse. This is actually calls Openverse. Okay, so you can find content over here which is related to, for example, the muscle system. I just create cell biology. Okay. Now, suppose you need an image here on cell biology. Okay, you want to use an image from this. You have to be very specific in your search. So it's not like Google. So if I want to use this image, I just click here. Okay, I click on this immunology. Now this image I can go and use directly. Okay, I can use this image in my slide, but I need to copy and paste this one, which is the here. You need to copy this text and place it. So suppose I decided to use this image. Okay, I can go and copy this image and I put it in my slide. For example, new slide. Okay. Now suppose I'm using this image. I don't want to use you need to copy and paste the license in order for it to become real. I mean, to authenticate. So I click here, Control C. I copy and paste this in my, I copy and paste right here. Okay. So this is the license for that particular image. So you copy it and you paste it at the bottom of your page. You can paste it here in your image. Now, this is the rule which needs to be followed with CC BY, or else you will be using images without the permission. So you have the image over here. Okay, so you can use that image freely. Now, in PowerPoint, right, in the one which is given to us by UMS, the PowerPoint, you actually have that option as well. Okay, so suppose I want to insert an image here. Suppose I'm preparing a lecture. I want to insert an image. Actually, I can go to the Insert, Pictures, and go to Bing Pictures in your system. And then you look, for example, you're looking for medical microbiology. And I want to insert this image of this particular slide over here. For example, here, you can insert it here. Now, when you use this kind of image, right, you can see what comes here. This photograph by unknown author is licensed under CC BY share alike. So this is a free image. You can reuse it. So this image will be in your slide. So you can have, this way you can use the material developed by other authors. So this is why Creative Commons was actually introduced in the world, because you can share your knowledge with others and you can reuse other people's knowledge. This is how we use Creative Commons. So with the PowerPoint slides, you can actually create all this kind of content. Okay, so that's about the Creative Commons. Okay, now comes the next part, which is we cover the Creative Commons. I will show you how certain things, because we have this particular thing which we need to inform you about. You have all seen it. You may have seen it in the announcement, or it may have slipped your mind. And it has because it's just one of the announcement which is made. So sometimes it slips our mind because we have so many things to do. Okay, so we'll highlight this thing. What's going to happen is that currently we have a Google Drive in UMS which is given under Google Educator program before the pandemic. So the Google Drive was infinite drive. Infinite means you can go up to 1 TB or 2 TB per user. It doesn't matter. But what has happened is that under this drive before the pandemic, the Google had given us a certain limit. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 300 TB, terabyte, right? 300 TB. So what has happened is now if you go and check your Google Drive, you will find out that because you're recording all your Google Meet, the number of TB UMS is using has exceeded 350 TB. So we have actually exceeded the amount which was allocated by Google. Now, in order to get a license for all of that, we will have to pay a significant amount to Google. So what Google has done is they have told us that we will only be given 15, we can actually go up to 15 GB. They have given us a 15 GB limit. Okay, Setiap account here is 15 GB for Setiap user. So only 15 GB will be given to us. So what we need to do is before this actually closes down in July, we need to go to our Google Drive and you need to back it up in your computer. You back it up in your desktop or your laptop, because that Google Drive will probably be limited to 15 GB after the certain date has passed. Now what I have done is, because mine is about 140 GB, because the data is from many years. So usually I just buy one USB drive and I will copy all the data into that drive. And when Google deletes, it will be gone. Okay, so once it's deleted, you won't get your data, because we have all our documents and our files and all inside. So please make sure that you comply with this particular requirement for the Google Drive. Okay, and make sure that you back up your email, because I check my email and the email is also about 20 to 30 GB. So that also will be lost. So you need to back up your Gmail as well as your Google Drive. Okay, so this is from the educator's perspective. We need to do this because Google will take away our accounts. I mean, they won't take away our account. They will take away our storage space. Okay, so we have about 350 TB currently in storage. Okay, so now after the pandemic, they changed. Earlier they said it's free, but now because of the overusage, they have limited. So please make sure you back up your account. Now, what is the alternative to Google Drive, which we have as educator? We have the office.com. Okay, so this is the Office 365, and this is where all the content is actually stored. So usually what I do now is I don't use the Google Drive anymore for creating the slide. I create the slide using the Office 365 account. Now, in Office 365 account, you have your Microsoft Teams. Now, when you do a lecture using Microsoft Teams, like we are using WebEx, but if you use Microsoft Teams, all your lectures are actually recorded inside the system. So I will show you here. So after I do a Teams lecture, this will actually record the lecture here. Do you all use Teams, or you want me to show you how to use Teams? Do you want me to show you how the Teams is used to record, or are you all familiar with that? Okay? I will show you how the Teams is used. I'll have to share my Teams window first. Okay, I just close this and I share a Teams window. So you can install Microsoft Teams in your system, either in your laptop or even your phone. And surprisingly, the phone is more powerful with Teams as the modern phone, even the simple phone like a Galaxy A series is more powerful with the Teams in the phone than on the computer or desktop. That's what I found out. Okay, so I'll share the Teams window. Okay, so I'm going to reshare, stop sharing, and I'll share the Teams window. Okay, Microsoft Teams share. Okay. Now I'm sharing the Microsoft Teams window. Okay, usually I don't use WebEx for classes because some of the students had issues. So that's what I experienced. So I did not use the WebEx for my lectures. So let's see how we set up the lecture here. I think you may be familiar with it, but usually you go to your calendar window is here. And suppose I want to set up a lecture on Thursday. So I have a lecture here. So I want to set up another lecture for Friday, for instance, at 9 o'clock. Okay, this is how I set it up. So go to this section here, click on this. Okay, and then you can set it up as a lecture. But what I want to set up is a meeting for the lecture. So I click here and on new meeting. So move up here and you select new meeting. In the new meeting, you give it a okay, 1 minute. I cannot see I didn't show you the panel. 1 minute, I'll show you. 1 minute. It's actually hanging up again now. Let's wait. Teams. Zul, can you see my window? It's hanging.
Yeah, Doctor, it's
yeah, it's hanging up. I cannot see that webinar thing. It's showing up something else. I want to use the webinar actually, but it's only showing the meeting.
loading.
Loading what? Okay. This is thing about
calendar.
Sorry?
Calendar.
Calendar.
Teams,
Yeah, but I cannot see my webinar setting.
Oh, yeah, it's loading.
It's showing you the webinar. Actually, it's showing you meeting, but the webinar is. Okay, I think got. Okay, so go to here, the new meeting here, and you click. Don't click on the new meeting here. Okay, you click here. This you could not see it earlier. You click here, the side, and then it says here webinar. And this thing is coming up here. Take it. Okay. Now I can see it. Okay, go to new meeting here, and you scroll down, and you click here webinar. Webinar here. Click webinar. Okay, now I want to conduct a webinar, so I'm going to give I'll actually add a course. I will add a meeting here for the webinar. So I'm going to give it a course. So it's IB6043. Actually set up a course, and I say lecture 5. Okay, for example here. Okay, then I set up a date which is on the Friday. So I set it up from 9 to 11. Okay, now it's set up here. You can add in your detail, and that's it. So you just say send. Okay, now the lecture has been set up here. So I click here and I can copy the link. So you sit here, you select your webinar here, you copy the link here, you copy this. Okay. Once you copy the link, what's going to happen is that you can now put that link in your live lecture. So you can share this link with your students. And if your students usually are on Microsoft Teams and you are adding them as users, they will see your link. But usually I share it on the smart tree for the record. So this is the link you copy here from the webinar. So the steps are like this. You add it as a webinar. Although it's a class, this Teams will classify it as webinar. If you set it up as meeting, you'll have to create a link, and that's another procedure. But for now, you just use class as webinar. Okay, now when you want to deliver your webinar, right, all you do is you open your Microsoft Teams, and then you click on the link. Microsoft Teams will automatically set up your webinar. The good thing about Microsoft Teams is this one, files. Okay, now suppose I want to do my lecture inside in the class. I want to do my lecture in the class. I don't have to go and download and copy and paste. All I do is I have the lecture note in Smart 3, but here, for example, I have my lecture note. I just have to click on that one. So here, 1 second. Suppose I want to share this. I just click here. Okay. So you will see the lecture loading in the system, and then you can see all your slides here. Okay, so you can see everything here inside the lecture. So this, the student will see this. So you don't have to do a share again. They will see the slide as it is in a team. Now this one I noticed as compared to WebEx, this one gives a better viewing of the lectures. Now another interesting thing about this is this. Suppose you recorded your lecture note. You click on recording, right? The WebEx will record everything. Now suppose the recording is here. You will see the recording here. I'll just show you a demo here. So the recordings also are stored in the same folder. So this has an advantage of over the other systems because you do everything in a single platform. So this is the recording here. So this is my recorded lecture. You can see here, it has recorded the whole lecture here. Okay, it's recording. It's actually a video file. So there's a video file inside the system, which you can see here. So the lecture will be there for you. And your student can also view this file. So you don't have to worry about sharing it again on Google Drive. Although by default, we share it there because we are it's calculating the 1732. So Microsoft Teams is a good system to work with the students because everything is here. You have your teams, you can set up your team by setting up your students, and you can do a lot of things over here itself. You have activities, you can chat here, you can do stuff in the teams. Okay, but because we are using the this is the chat system. Okay, so you can have your chat as well with the teams, and the chat is stored. But because we are using the Smart as a default, we don't generally use this as Teams. Okay, so hopefully you can use this. So as I mentioned earlier, go to chat and you can set up your webinar here. Once you set up your webinar, you share the link and your students can attend your meeting. You will have no problem with uploading, downloading, or sharing screens because all you do is go to files and you click on the file and you present directly on the screen. No problems with sharing and hanging anymore. Okay, so with other platforms, you will have that sharing and okay, so this is how to use Microsoft Teams as an alternative to the WebEx and the other platforms like Google Meet. Of course, we can't use, but this is the way you use the Teams. Okay, I hope that is useful for you all. Any questions you have regarding Teams? Any question related to the Teams? So if I was having a team meeting, you will see all the content in my folder at any given time. Okay, let's see the MOOC. Okay, so if there are no questions, we will have to end the session. I think I've exceeded my time. So you have Doctor, you want me to show the MOOC or you want me to continue with MOOC or how up to you?
Sorry, because it's our related time is until around 11:45.
Okay.
Yeah, but regarding the MOOC, I think yes, I think can we just arrange one session later, Prof?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because
Actually, you will have to, Doctor, you'll have to check the number of MOOCs which your faculty is supposed to produce based on the file, right? The KRA file which was shared with your respective dean, and then you'll have to identify the lecturers. We'll be giving them a special training on the MOOC.
Sure, can.
Okay.
I will. I will.
I will share the slide with you in the in that system which I created just now, the Roadshow.
Okay. Can, Prof. Can. No
So we
problem.
open the floor for Q&A.
Can.
For questions from the respective lecturers. If you have anything to ask, any difficulty you face, because the purpose of the Roadshow was actually to enable you to have access to the e-learning team. Okay. So if you have any questions, I can respond to them.
Yeah, because seems that almost all of us who are attending this actually are the new ones from the new ones
Oh,
who
okay,
just
okay, okay,
graduated from
okay.
the master's program.
Oh,
And
okay,
then,
okay,
yeah, so I would believe some of them also are new coordinators.
okay.
Yeah, maybe they don't have questions now.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
you will have questions later when
yeah,
the
they might
system,
have
when you
questions
actually
later
use the.
because all these things actually I noticed that it's better to be to try it hands-on first.
Yeah, yeah.
Before and then when you try it hands-on, then you will have encounter some difficulties or some questions. Yes, but
So,
then I just ask the floor if you have any questions
so
before.
that means everyone here is actually new in the. So I know some of you, but how many
Yeah,
of you and how many are new out of the users here?
actually almost all of us actually, Prof.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. You all are
Sophia,
new.
Alicia, Faris, Lozenzen.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. For you all, I think we'll have a special. Did you all attend a PNP course? The,
Because yes, we did.
so was blended learning covered in detail in that course in full
It
detail?
wasn't really
Okay,
smart, which also actually only touch I think with one session, but
okay.
then that's actually sometimes afternoon sessions people's concentration dip
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
below
yeah,
acceptable
yeah,
level.
yeah, yeah.
So but then they did also mention regarding the Creative Commons and everything, but I think
Okay.
just it's good to have a refresher, Prof.
Yeah, usually
Because
we used to have a blended learning session for all the lecturers. So I'm planning to conduct one for everybody because I have to combine all the faculties because there are a lot of new lecturers, many lecturers who come in. Actually, you can go to our website. I'll just give you the link, and then we have a book there. I will share the link with you. I'll extract the link first. It's called Smart V3 Step by Step. Okay, in that one we have covered everything using a infographic format. Okay, I will just share the link with you. 1 second. Zul, can you share the link for our infographic, the book? Just
Sure.
share in the chat window because I'm opening another window.
Yeah, wait,
Just share the link for our publication link. And in that one, there is a book there. Smart V3 Step by Step Learning Management System. This is for lecturers. There's one for our student, one for our lecturers. Okay, that's the link Zul has shared. Thank you, Zul, for sharing the link. That's the link to our for our lecture notes. Okay, so sorry, how to upload lecture notes, how to do everything is in that. So whatever I've covered in my lecture will be covered in that link. Okay, so it's here.
okay,
So you can download it, and then we have put all the things which I've covered in the lecture now. Today's Taklimat will be in the form of infographic. So you just follow the infographic, and there's some videos in that book as well, e-videos. So it's an e-book. Okay, so hopefully you can attend the training for new lecturers. Are you all available during the term break? Because I'm trying to set up in the term break, but that's the the Hari Raya month week. After the Hari Raya week, is it
after
okay?
Raya week. Yeah, maybe we can just come up with the date first, Prof, and then just
Okay.
inform them.
So I
Because
don't.
actually, yeah, we are not familiar with term break actually, especially the clinical
Oh, okay,
lectures.
okay.
Yeah,
For the
yeah.
other faculties, they have term break in the
Yes, yes,
Raya week. So
yes.
because I want to cover as many as possible, so that's the only time I can do.
Okay, Prof. No
Okay.
problem.
So
Yeah.
it's very important that you learn how to. Everyone learns. Means we are all cognizant of how to use the system. Otherwise, it's basically that's all the university are moving towards the e-learning and technology. So it's very important to learn the system.
Okay, no
Okay.
problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so Prof, I just close the session, Prof.
Okay.
Yeah, so all in all, I would like to thank Prof. Dr. Kenneth for coming and spending his valuable time with us, and also Mr. Zulfadli and also Ms. Nora for helping Prof. Kenneth. I believe there's no further questions. I hope that this will be beneficial to all of us, to helping us to help our students also fulfill our KPIs at the end of the year. So I believe this will be followed up by small sessions later in within the faculty and also with maybe Prof. Kenneth in the future regarding trainings of MOOC, Smart V3, and also maybe OER. So because this actually is quite a big topic, and also maybe I believe all of us are familiar, especially us who are actually in the Fpsk, who are actually doctors, and also we also must assimilate ourselves to become lecturers on top of doctors, on top of medical doctors. So with that, I thank you, Prof. Kenneth, and also the team for coming today, and also for all of the attendees. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.
Terima kasih, Dr. Mohammed Firdaus. Thank you very much for inviting PEP over. And I look forward to future interaction with you. Okay, as you mentioned earlier, we should not get too involved with the technology because you are a professional. So focus more on the your professional aspect. The technology, the training for the Smart V3, we should actually as long as we do the basic achievement, it should be sufficient. Don't get too involved with the technology, or else it will impose on your skills. You know, your major component of your training, which is your lecturing and your other duties. Okay, so thank you very much, Terima kasih, and I wish you all a safe and blessed Ramadan. Okay, and
Thank you.
pleasant day ahead. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Prof.